Welcome to Potty Training by Sarah Carter and Misty Lynch. First, we want to make sure that you're prepared to begin the potty training process. It's important to pick a date. I would recommend choosing a weekend or a long break. And it's good to talk with your family members, teachers, and caregivers on when you're going to start this. And then it's also really important that you've checked with your pediatrician to rule out any possible medical conditions that may interfere or be a barrier with potty training. All right, these are some of the signs that your child will indicate to you that they're ready for the process. They're ready to start. So if they start taking off their diaper, they don't like the feeling of it, they're getting upset when they have a wet or soiled diaper, they're watching you do your toilet routines and they want to try to be like you. Waking up with a dry diaper either overnight or maybe from a nap, and they're staying drier longer, or they're letting you know or pulling at their diaper or trying to let you know like they're wet, and then they're willing to sit on a toilet. Setting the stage. It's a lot of preparation to get ready for toilet training. You want to determine if you'll use a toilet, one of those toilet covers or a potty chair, if you're going to have a step stool. It's also important to see if your child's afraid of the toilet. And if they are, we need to have some reinforcers to get them comfortable. So you want to practice sitting on the toilet, flushing the toilet, putting toilet paper in the toilet, washing and drying their hands. Sometimes out in public, those hand dryers can be super scary and loud. With automatic toilet flushing in public, a hint that I have given before is bring a little Post-it note to cover the sensor so when they sit down on the toilet, they won't be afraid and it won't go off unexpectedly. You'll want to have a timer because you're going to use that for potty training, and get some visuals required, and those are attached. So if you need some visuals to help with the toileting schedule. And then minimize any distractions in the bathroom. Don't have a lot of things going on in your bathroom environment. All right, reinforcers are huge. You have to really pick these systematically. You want to determine what your child likes. That would be a good motivator. We're going to have a moment to brainstorm some of those ideas. But this is kind of one of the most important things, that you need to restrict access to this reinforcer only for potty training. So don't use it anywhere else. I don't recommend technology. Like, oh, you get your iPad if you go potty. No, because then they will only get it if they go to the restroom. They're not going to get it any other time. So pick one thing that they're only going to get just for this. You want to keep the reinforcer in view, but not where they can access it. And it should immediately follow when they are successful on the toilet. And if you need to have a more valuable reinforcer for bowel movements, you can do that. What I did for my son was we did M&Ms. They're small, they're little, they're different colors. You get to choose what color you want. So if he urinated, he got 1. If he had a bowel movement, he got 2. We also incorporated a sticker chart. So after he did so many successful potties, he would see all the stars on the sticker chart, and then I might have a larger reward. So that's an option as well. So what are the types of reinforcers that you should consider? So edible, that's what I did, just because it's one little M&M. Sensory, so thinking about a toy that maybe lights up, that's visual, something that's tactile, that has good feeling, auditory, that's making sounds. Maybe there's toys that have good smells. Maybe kinesthetic is something that he or she gets to do afterwards, like a fun game. Tangible, I did use the stickers, so I did an edible and a tangible. You can pair them. Maybe a special privilege, that they would get to do, a special activity that they would get to play. Generalized, and I'm going to say mine's kind of generalized too. Like I use the stickers to like generalize to like that was like a token kind of. And then social, high fives, hugs, and tickles. So here's the thing about high fives, hugs, and tickles. You know, You probably are giving your kid hugs throughout the day several times. I don't know, maybe you don't tickle your child every day, but like if you want to give like a high five, but we only give a high five at potty. So that's kind of hard. I do that a lot with when my son was this age. I did a lot of those. So I just would caution about that. So this is the time where you want to kind of think of how you're going to brainstorm of what reinforcer would be most appropriate for your child. So maybe jot some things down if you want to pause for a second to write some things down, but it's only for potty training. All right, we're going to talk about, there's going to be 3 types of potty training that we're going to discuss today: the distributed method, the intensive method, and the schedule method. And we'll explain each of them.
Distributed training is most often used with children with disabilities. This training is similar to schedule training, but it involves picking your sit times very systematically. You'll be taking the child to the restroom at the times of day that they are most likely to be wet. Your child can remain in diapers for the duration of this training. Before beginning, you'll start by taking data on your child's typical potty behavior. Every 30 minutes, check to see if your child is wet or dry and record this data. You should do this for 1 week prior to training. Take a look at your data and see if there's a time on the schedule where your child is consistently wet. If the data are variable, consider delaying training or using the intensive method. If they're stable, check the schedule to see the 2 times that the child is most likely to be wet. You'll choose these as your targeted sit times. Before beginning training, you should collect the following materials: your data collection sheet and a pen, a timer, and the child's reinforcers determined by the preference assessment. Now you and your child are ready to begin. The following are the steps for distributed training. 1. Take the child to the restroom 10 minutes before your targeted sit time. Have the child sit on the potty for 5 minutes. 2. If the child is successful and urinates in the toilet, provide praise and high-quality reinforcement. Make sure that the reinforcer is only available for potty successes. If the item is a food, allow the child to consume the item. If the item is a toy or activity, allow the child to engage with it for 2 minutes. 3. If the child is unsuccessful and does not urinate on the toilet, make sure that they sit for the entire sit period. If necessary, provide gentle pressure to the child's shoulders or hold them underneath the arms to ensure that they sit. You can also remind the child, when you go pee, you can get off the potty. After the sit time is over, allow the child to get off and try to sit again in 5 minutes. If this second sit is also unsuccessful, move on and try again during your next scheduled sit period. 4. Regardless of the results of your previous sit, bring the child to the restroom at your next scheduled sit time and repeat the procedures. 5. When successes occur for 50% of your scheduled trips, add a 3rd time to your schedule. Use your data to choose this time. And 6. If the child is consistently successful and has no accidents between trips, you do not need to add a 4th time. However, if the child has a consistent wet diaper during a 4th time of the day, you can add that time and follow the same procedures. You can stop toilet training when the child consistently requests to go to the bathroom when he or she needs to go. If this doesn't happen after several weeks of training, you should consider increasing the time between your sits. This will allow the child to request to go to the bathroom when they need to go. If you're working with a child with impaired language, it's important you teach these requests by practicing communication during your prompted trips. For example, you can prompt the child to take a picture from a picture communication book that represents toileting, and they can bring it to the nearest adult. For this to be successful, the child should have consistent access to the picture communication book. This will allow them to request the bathroom at any time during any situation. switch to underwear when the child is consistently successful and has one or fewer accidents throughout the day. This practice has been successful using children with and without disabilities. The practice is also typically faster than scheduled training, but will still take several weeks to complete. Make sure that you follow your sit schedule across all settings, including home, school, and within the community.
We're going to take a moment to review some of the steps from the distributed method. 1, take your child to the restroom 10 minutes before the target time and have your child sit for a minimum of 3 minutes. If your child does urinate, give them praise and whatever reinforcer you have chosen. Ensure the reinforcement is of high quality and only available for potty training success. If it's a food item, allow the child to consume it. If it's a toy, allow them to play with it for 2 minutes. If the child does not urinate, make sure the child remains on the toilet until the time is over. Bring the child to the restroom at the next sit time and repeat the previous steps. When success occurs, 50% of scheduled trips, add a third sit time to your schedule. All right, this is in your handout. So this is what you would use to help keep all of your data. And it has the date, the activity, the time, if they're dry, the result, if it was they urinated, a bowel movement, no response, and did they initiate. So this will be great to help keep your data. So we're going to review. So how long will I take data in a diaper? 1 week. So first, we really have to do that. Second, how often do you see if your child is wet or dry? Every 30 minutes. When you spot a pattern, how many target times will you schedule to sit on the potty to begin? 2 target times. How long should my child sit on the toilet? This is going to vary at first. I wouldn't go for a super long time, anywhere between 2 to 10 minutes. And when should I provide a reinforcer? When you have your potty success. So make sure that we're giving that reinforcer.
Potty training tutorials, intensive toilet training. Before beginning intensive toilet training, ensure that your child is ready for potty training. Your child should have some bowel control, indicated by extended periods of dryness, and should be willing to sit on the toilet. Intensive toilet training is a technique that can be used for typically developing children and children with disabilities. It is sometimes called mass practice or the Azrin technique. For typically developing children, it's also referred to as potty training in a day. For children with disabilities, this technique may take several days and your full devotion. It requires you and the child to remain close to the restroom for the entire period of the day, and the training should not be interrupted for any reason. Be sure that you have no other obligations during the training period. Intensive toilet training involves increasing your child's liquid intake, using a standard set of procedures for successes and accidents, and frequent trips to the potty. Before beginning, you should collect the following materials: your data collection sheet and a pen, a timer, salty snacks such as popcorn, chips, or pretzels, your child's favorite drink such as water or juice, lots of extra underwear and clean clothes, and finally, your child's reinforcers, which can be identified through a preference assessment, and maybe their favorite toys, candy, or videos. If you're unsure about your child's reinforcers, you should watch our preference assessment videos to help you identify things that will assist in this training. The following are steps for prepping your toilet training session. First, place your child in clean underwear and pants or shorts that are easy to pull up and down. 1 hour before training, give your child their favorite drink and allow them to consume 1 cup of it. 30 minutes before training, give your child their favorite drink and allow them to consume another cup. Directly before training, give your child their favorite drink and allow them to consume as much as they want. If at any time the child does not want to consume their drink, that's okay. Allow them to take their time and make it available during the session. Now you and your child are ready to begin. The following steps will help you conduct the training. 1. Take your child to the restroom and have them sit on the toilet for 5 to 10 minutes. 2. If the child does urinate, praise them and provide their high-quality reinforcer. Remember that this should only be available for potty successes. If the item is a food, allow the child to consume the item. If the item is a toy or activity, allow the child to engage with it for 2 minutes and set yourself a timer. When the timer goes off, remove the item from the child. 3. If the child does not go, remind the child, "We go pee in the potty," and allow the child to get off the potty after the sit period is over. 4. Check the child every 5 minutes for dryness and record whether they are dry, wet, or soiled. Set yourself a timer and give praise if the child is dry. Keep the child near the restroom at all times. It might be helpful to set up a chair within the restroom or activities directly outside the restroom. Feel free to engage with the child with moderately preferred toys. 5. At this time, allow the child free access to their favorite drink and those salty snacks. Keep them available throughout the training. And 6, bring the child to the toilet every 15 to 20 minutes and have them sit on the toilet for 5 to 10 minute sit periods. Repeat the previously mentioned steps each time you go. Make sure you take data for every sit session and every dry check. If at any time the child has an accident, use the following corrective procedure. 1. Say, "No wet pants," or "We don't pee in our pants." 2. Have the child remove their soiled clothes and put on clean clothes. 3. If the child refuses to remove their clothes or put on new ones, use graduated guidance to assist the child. Use hand-over-hand prompting and make moment-to-moment decisions about how much help the child needs. 4. Continue the dry checks every 5 minutes and provide access to drinks and salty snacks throughout the period. And 5, continue to take the child to the toilet every 15 to 20 minutes. The following are some general guidelines that you may find helpful during the procedure. If at any time the child refuses to sit on the potty, you can place gentle pressure on their shoulders or hold them underneath the arms. Remind the child, "You can get off the potty when you go pee." Remain close to the restroom throughout the entire day. And continue the training until bedtime when you can place the child back in diapers. Continue training the very next morning. When the child has a success, you can increase the off time by 5 minutes. When the child has another success with no accidents, you can increase the off time by an additional 5 minutes. Do this until the child's off time is about 2 hours or the training is complete. The training is considered complete when the child has 3 successes with no accidents and the child begins initiating toileting on their own. Intensive toilet training takes time and space. If you choose this intervention, ensure that you and your child have no competing activities that could interfere with the procedure. Even meals should be given near the restroom. During the intervention, your child may become frustrated and show some resistance, especially at the beginning of training. You should always remain calm and carry out the intervention as planned, unless you deem it unsafe for your child and yourself. This practice has been used for children with and without disabilities and is considered the fastest way to potty train your child.
We're going to review the steps of intensive potty training. Place your child in underwear and pants that are easily able to pull up and down. 1 hour before the first toilet session, give your child 1 cup of a moderately preferred drink. 30 minutes before the first toilet session, allow the child to drink up to a cup of a moderately preferred drink. Right before the first session, allow the child to drink more liquid. But anytime the child refuses to drink, don't force them, but have it available. Here's our guidelines. If the child refuses to sit on the potty, place gentle pressure on the shoulders to still them. You will be remaining close to the restroom for the entire day. Continue intensive training until the end of the day, then place the child in diapers for bedtime and continue with intensive training the next day. When the child has success, increase by 5 minutes. Do this until the off time is about 2 hours or until training is complete. Toilet training is considered complete when the child has 3 successes with no accidents and when the child indicates using the toilet with success without prompting. This is the intensive toilet training, and it's in your handout as well, and it's very similar to the other ones, but you're kind of seeing where you are, and the key is at the bottom. All right, here is a review of our intensive method. What types of snacks should you have around? Salty. This is going to want them to give them, more motivation to drink. 1 hour before your first toilet session, you should give them something to drink again. 30 minutes before their first toilet session, you should give them more to drink. Right before the first session, you should, you guessed it, give them something else to drink. What if your child refuses to drink? Do not force it, but just have it available. We're going to continue the review. How long will the child sit on the toilet? For this method, they do have 5 to 10 minutes. What do you do if the child urinates? You want to provide that reinforcer that you've chosen. What do you do if the child does not urinate? You're going to say, remember, we go pee in the potty. And right before the first session, you should allow them to get a drink. And how often are you going to check to see if your child is dry? Every 5 minutes. This is intensive, so that's why you're checking so often. How often do you bring your child to the toilet? 15 to 20 minutes. Remember to record on the data sheet. This is taking a lot of data. What if your child has an accident? Say, no wet pants. We don't pee in our pants. Where should meals be given? Near the restroom. You're going to be spending almost the entire day near the restroom. How many concurrent activities should be occurring? 0. Your entire time is going to be potty training. What if a child refuses to sit on the potty? You're going to place gentle pressure on the shoulders to still them.
Potty training tutorials, scheduled toilet training. Before beginning scheduled training, ensure that your child is ready for potty training. Your child should have some bladder control, indicated by extended periods of dryness, and should be willing to sit on the toilet. Scheduled training is the technique used most often with typically developing children and within early childhood settings. It involves taking the child to the restroom at predetermined times of the day and providing reinforcement for successes. Your child may remain in diapers for the duration of this kind of training. Before beginning scheduled training, however, you should determine how often you will take the child to the restroom. To begin training, we recommend every 2 hours. Your child may participate in regular home and school activities while participating in this type of training. Before beginning training, you should collect the following materials: your data collection sheet and a pen, a timer, and the child's reinforcers determined by the preference assessment. Now you and your child are ready to begin. The following are the steps for scheduled toilet training. 1. When your child wakes up or when they arrive at school, take the child to the toilet. 2. Have the child sit on the toilet for 5 minutes. 3. If the child is successful and urinates in the toilet, provide high-quality reinforcement and praise. Make sure that the reinforcement item is only available for potty successes. If the item is a food, allow the child to consume it. If the item is a toy or object, allow the child to engage with it for 2 minutes before removing. 4. If the child does not go during the scheduled sit, make sure that the child sits for the entire duration. If necessary, you can place gentle pressure on top of the child's shoulders or hold them underneath the arms if they are having trouble sitting. Remind the child, when you go pee in the potty, you can get off. 5. Record the condition of the child's diaper, either wet, dry, or soiled. and record whether or not the child goes to the potty successfully. 6. Have the child put on a clean diaper and wash their hands. 7. Ensure that these scheduled trips are positive and encouraging, as they will occur throughout the entire day. And 8. Bring the child to the restroom at the next scheduled sit in 2 hours. Continue until bedtime or when the child leaves school. You can stop toilet training when the child consistently requests to go to the bathroom when he or she needs to go. If this doesn't happen after several weeks of training, you should consider increasing the time between your sits. This will allow the child to request to go to the bathroom when they need to go. If you're working with a child with impaired language, it's important you teach these requests by practicing communication during your prompted trips. For example, you can prompt the child to take a picture from a picture communication book that represents toileting, and they can bring it to the nearest adult. For this to be successful, the child should have consistent access to the picture communication book. This will allow them to request the bathroom at any time during any situation. You can switch to underwear when the child is consistently successful and has 1 or fewer accidents per day. This potty training practice is quite easy to implement and particularly useful if you're potty training many children at once. However, for children with disabilities, this practice may be quite slow or even unsuccessful. If you're using this practice, ensure that you follow your sit schedule in all different settings, including home, school, and out and about in the community.
We're going to review the steps for scheduled potty training. You're going to begin when your child wakes up. You're going to have your child sit on the toilet for 5 minutes. If your child is successful, provide praise and reinforcement. If your child does not go during the scheduled sit, ensure they sit for the entire time. And then record the condition of the child's diaper, wet, soiled, or dry, as well as if the child goes to the potty successfully. You also have a handout to help you with this method. We're going to review the schedule method. Can your child remain in diapers? Yes. Yes, your child can. How often do you take your child to the restroom? Every 2 hours. How long will your child sit on the toilet? 5 minutes. When do I switch to underwear? When consistently successful with no more than 1 accident per day. So it's okay to have that 1 accident because we're learning. So these are some just helpful tips through the potty training process. It's important for your child to feel the sensation of wet and dry. We have these really wonderful diapers now that they wick away the moisture and they can't feel it. So when they start to feel the sensation, it's going to be a lot easier for them to know, oh, this is what this feels like. When you are potty training, you should have multiple pairs of training pants or waterproof underpants, covers, and underwear. There's going to be times that the underwear, it's going to be soiled and it's just going to have to go straight into the trash can. It's unfortunate, but it's sometimes really hard to clean out. And then make sure when you are doing potty training and you're, make it sure that it's really easy to get in and out of clothing. Have those elastic waistbands. You don't want to have to struggle to get your child in and out of clothing that day. This is just a really cute picture of teaching your child how to wipe. And so this teacher has put little balloons on the back of the chairs just to kind of help. So I thought that would be a good image just so they can kind of see the process of how to do it. And you are ready to start potty training. Thank y'all so very much.